Oh, how are you? Talk about the wrath of God again today. You know that I constantly talk about dispensationalism and disprove dispensationalism. One of the false assumptions of dispensationalism is the belief that after the rapture comes the great tribulation. And of course, we see in Matthew 24:29 that is not the case. Matthew 24:29 says, after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened. Now, when the sun is going to be darkened and the moon will lose its shine, and please go there, I don't have the time right now because I want to focus today on Isaiah, who really talks about that time. And we can see very clearly that after the rapture, when the sun goes dark, when the day of the Lord starts, it's called the wrath of God, not great tribulation. Now, does it matter how we call it? Yes, because when people think about great tribulation, that's totally different than wrath of God. I'll be talking about another video, maybe the next one, about great tribulation, because Paul talks about great tribulation a lot. And the great tribulation, of course, that the saints are going through, because that's what's happening. The saints will go through great tribulation. Since the day of Christ's death, the saints have been going through great tribulation. And when this great tribulation is over, again, look it up, Matthew 24:29, the sun will go dark. The moon will lose its shine. The heavenly bodies will go nuts, which we can say then, see then in Luke 21:24. Also in Mark 13, I think it's 24:25. And then we can see it also in Revelation 6:12 through 17. These are all the same descriptions of the day of the Lord. They never say day of the Lord. But when we read today the description that Isaiah gave us in Isaiah 13, we can see clearly that all these things fit together. Isaiah also talks about this battle that's coming during the day of the Lord, during the wrath of God. So we understand this situation better. Yes, we do have to understand the Old Testament and the Old Testament prophets. Somebody was arguing with me, and I don't know, it was somebody that watches my English videos or my German, but she was saying, well, our faith is built on Judaism. And she tried to tell me that there's two different kinds of Judaism, rabbinical Judaism and then the regular Judaism. But I wouldn't call it Judaism. We have the Old Testament and the New Testament, and the Old Testament is gone. Yes, we still read and go follow the prophets. Moses, yes, there's some prophecy that Moses gave us, and we follow that. But the first covenant or the old covenant is over. We don't go by the old covenant anymore. And so today, yes, it's good to know what the Old Testament prophets wrote about end times. And Isaiah is one of them. Ezekiel is another. I always mention so many. So today I want to read Isaiah 13 and compare it to New Testament prophecies, because the writers of the New Testament, they knew about the Old Testament, or Jesus, even Jesus, when we look at Luke, Mark, and Matthew, he refers to these prophecies because they're the same. They're the very same. Or John, what he wrote in Revelation. We see very clear parallels. So let's start with Isaiah 13 today. And we can start from the beginning. It starts out the burden against Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos saw. Now, Isaiah thought it was against Babylon. But did Babylon stand for an invading force? Who is this invading force that is going to invade the Middle East during the wrath of God? That is the kings of the East, and also the beast is there, the prophet is there, the false prophet is there, and of course Israel, today's Israel, is there. And they will get involved in a battle, in a very terrible battle. And believe me, nobody is getting away with anything during that battle. So we need to keep that in mind. Where do I find that? I find that in Revelation 16. Okay, and the Battle of Armageddon. So here, listen to this. I'll start with verse 4. You can start earlier because it says, I have also called my mighty ones for my anger. That's still in 3. Those who rejoice in my exaltation. So then he continues in 4, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like that of many people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. This is when all nations come together. That is the Battle of Armageddon. The kings of this, again, kings of the East, all kings of the East, that is China and all their allies, the BRICS nations, like I said before. And then, of course, who is fighting with Israel? It's the beast. The beast and the false prophet. The false prophet who is America, the U.S., and the beast who is Europe. The Lord of hosts musters the army for battle. They come from far countries, from a far country, from the ends of the earth, or from the end of heaven, the Lord and his weapons of indignation to destroy the whole land. Now, what are they doing? They're destroying the whole land. What land? Where do they meet? That is in Israel and the surrounding land right there. You know, Lebanon and Libya and not Libya. Well, all the nations, the Middle Eastern nations. Okay? Wail for the day of the Lord. And he's telling you right here, it's all about the day of the Lord. 6, verse 6. Wail, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It will come and come as destruction from the Almighty. Therefore, all hands will be limp. Every man's heart will melt, and they will be afraid. Pangs of sorrows will take hold of them. They will be in pain as a woman in childbirth. They will be amazed at one another, and their faces will be like flames. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh again, cruel with both wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate. What land? That includes Israel. Desolate. and he will destroy its sinners from it. All sinners, all who do not follow Messiah. For the stars of the heaven and their constellation will not give their light. See, here now we have what Luke, Matthew, and Mark, and John wrote. Okay? The stars of heaven and their constellations will not give their light. The sun will be darkened in its going forth, and the moon will not cause its light to shine. Okay, so this is what we have where Matthew 24:29. After the tribulation of those days, okay, the sun will go dark, and this is when the wrath of God starts. Okay, so we understand that, and people, we are getting to that time very soon. Everything is being prepared in this world right now, because this war right there is going to be the Third World War. This is how the Third World War will culminate in this last battle. I will punish the world for its evil. And I'm reading in verse 11. And the wicked for their iniquity. I will halt the arrogance of the proud, and I will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make a mortal more rare than fine gold, a man more than the golden wedge of Ophir. Therefore I will shake the heavens. See, that's what we hear too. The heavens will be shaken, especially Luke 24. And the earth will move out of her place. Okay, do we read that? Every island will be moved. Every mountain will be moved. In the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. It shall be as the hunted gazelle, and as a sheep that no man takes up. Every man will turn to his own people, and everyone will flee to his own land. Everyone who is found will be thrust through, and everyone who is captured will fall by the sword. Their children will be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Now, what children? The children that live there in that region. Okay? Which includes what? Jerusalem and Israel. Today's Israel. Their houses will be plundered and their wives ravished. Now we see the same thing when we go to Zachariah 14. Okay? He uses the same word. The houses will be plundered and their wives ravished. Yeah. And that's where we know that it's the day of the Lord, and we know it's in Jerusalem. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, who will not regard silver, and as for gold, they will not delight in it. Also, their bows will dash the young men to pieces, and they will have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eye will not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of the kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans' pride, will be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It will never be inhabited. Think about that. That region will be desolate, nor will it be settled from generation to generation, nor will the Arabians pitch their tents there. That's because it will be such a devastation. In some places it says that it will be scorched by fire. But the wild beasts of the desert will lie there, and their houses will be full of owls. Ostriches will dwell there, and wild goats will caper there. The hyenas will howl in their citadels and the jackals in their pleasant palaces. Her time is near to come, and her day will not be prolonged. This is what the Lord told Isaiah 2,500 years ago, or even longer, or more. That's what Isaiah prophesied. And this is not prophecy about Babylon during Isaiah time. This is end times prophecy. Why? Because Jesus picked up these pieces of prophecy. He picked it up, and then Luke, Mark, and Matthew wrote them down in their gospel. And then John in Revelation. So we get it 4 times. 4 times what Jesus said, and 4 times it parallels what Isaiah prophesied. We understand that the day of the Lord, this is what it's called. When the day of the Lord starts, we have the wrath of God. Because when the day of the Lord starts, God has to cleanse the earth from the sinful people and from the horrible worldly governmental system. The government has to be brought to their knees. The great ones have to be brought, the great ones that we consider great, the elite has to be brought to their knees. They have to be destroyed before Jesus can establish his kingdom. Because they will never do it freely. So all this has to be brought down. The whole system, the whole beast system, political system, everything. This is all established by Satan. And he will bring it down. And he will establish his own kingdom. And we need to understand that the time is near. Now, when the day of the Lord starts, people, right in the beginning, before the wrath even starts, Jesus will pick up his bride. He will take his bride out. The resurrection of the saints will happen. The dead saints will get a transformed body. And I'm talking about 1 Thessalonians 4. And those who are still alive will receive a transformed body and will be snatched out by Jesus. Now, it is not here, but I want to bring it in. So people have an idea when that snatching out of the people, the resurrection of the bride happens. It happens right at the beginning of the day of the Lord. Now, it is, of course, in Isaiah, it is a what? Actually, I wanted to say it is a mystery, but remember what Isaiah writes in Isaiah 26:19 through 21. He clearly states that before the wrath of God, before this happens, the resurrection happens. And that the people of God will go and hide in the chambers. So, yeah, Isaiah knew it. I'm not going to say it was a mystery. Maybe it was a mystery for him. Maybe he didn't know what he was saying. Maybe he wasn't aware of what he's saying. But clearly Isaiah teaches that before this wrath, before this destruction, before the day of the Lord, or actually at the beginning of the day of the Lord, the resurrection will happen. So we have no more need to be deceived. Sorry. It is actually clear when we read Isaiah what's going to happen. And of course we can see it then again in the New Testament. These are, how many witnesses actually? We have Luke writing it, we have Matthew writing it, we have Mark writing it, we have John. That's already 4 right there alone. Okay? Jesus told all 4 writers of the gospel. He only said it once, but it doesn't matter. And of course, he was referring to the things that Isaiah prophesied. And people continue, of course, to believe lies. Why? They don't study it. They don't read these Old Testament prophecies. They just listen to the people when they say, oh, the great tribulation is coming after the wrath of God, then they believe it. The saints come out of great tribulation. Remember, I talked about the multitude, Revelation 7, in heaven. They came through great tribulation. All of them, since the time of Jesus and before. Because even they, before Jesus' time, the saints came through great tribulation. But especially since the time of Jesus' death. Great tribulation. Not a time when there was not great tribulation. Because deception for me is even greater than physical tribulation. But yeah, I wanted to just read that for you today, because I thought it was really interesting. I was studying Isaiah and I came across that and I'm thinking, wow, that is exactly what we hear in the New Testament or Isaiah. You can read Isaiah 14. And Isaiah tells you the same thing. He talks about the day of the Lord. All right. Now again, I want to stress it. What's happening here happens not only to the Gentiles, to the kings of the East, to the beast system, but also to Israel. Because Israel is allied with the beast. Okay, you do understand that. Especially with the beast out of the earth, the false prophet. And they will be going against the kings of the East. Read that again, Revelation 16:12 through, 16 or something like that. No, Revelation 16, yeah, that's what I said. Revelation 16:12 through 16. Read it again. No, it's not going to be the Gog and Magog war where God protects Jerusalem, because that is the war that will happen after the millennium. That's when God protects the holy city, because it's his holy city. The holy city today, or Jerusalem today, is not God's city. Everything will be destroyed. I mean, totally destroyed. Coming to an end, people, let the Holy Spirit guide you always. Because we need to be aware that the time is near. The time is very, very near. Everything is accumulating and being planned, okay? Really planned for that time. The catastrophic events that will happen are being prepared right now. We see it coming. If you open your mind. And do you know what? The elite knows that they're coming. I even have a feeling that this great reset for 2030 has something to do with the wrath of God coming. It's not just a great reset, I think they know what's coming. And purposely, they chose 2030. Purposely, why? Because many things will happen around 2030. Like this comet Apophis. Check it out. Comet Apophis. And other things. We are expecting this pole shift pretty soon. And we see so many things going crazy in the sun. Some people say there's a planet X. And, there's many things going on. And I think it's just pointing to the wrath of God. Many are preparing. Many of the elites are preparing now out in the open. Okay, how many people are building bunkers and have already built bunkers? Why? Because they think they're going to survive it that way. The catastrophic events. That's why. Why would they build bunkers? Because they want to survive the catastrophic events. And so that's why they're shooting 2030. Everything's going to be, reset anyways. Who cares? They can bring all the immigrants over. It doesn't matter. It's going to go all up in flames anyways. And I have talked about that in my videos. Think about it. Why are they purposely destroying our economy, purposely destroying the United States? Why are they doing it? Because they know what's coming. And they really don't care because they have their bunkers ready. We are up here and we have to, well, I don't have to survive it, but humanity has to. I know that Jesus will take me out, just like he took Noah out, just like he took out Lot before he destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. And again, Isaiah 26:19 through 21, he tells you the resurrection happened and we are hiding in the chambers that Jesus prepared. And it's not symbolic, people. Some people that are trying to say, symbolic. It's in your brain, rooms in your brain. No, it's not symbolic. Right now, Jesus is preparing a literal rooms. Okay? It's called the New Jerusalem. It's not anything, symbolic. Abraham believed in a literal heavenly Jerusalem. Not anything symbolic. All right. Read it again. Become aware that we don't have very much time left. Again, please follow the Holy Spirit.